Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. Be seen on WHPR Detroit Live, Comcast Cable Channel 91, on the web at TV33WHPR.com, with the TV33 app, on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. Act now. Time slots are limited. Sign up today and get a free replay with the purchase of your time slot. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson, and this is your wake-up call.
When a brown girl child is born, the earth shifts. The sun is at half-mast. The moon waits for her first cry. The ancestors set the table. The flowers turn red as blood. This is your land, continent daughter, with tree trunk legs and branches for arms. This is your soil, black and fertile as your eyes facing an apartheid Jim Crow current past memory. Some of us begin the removal of shackles at birth. We grow into the armor of struggle quickly. We brew courage in our tea, blend bravery into our Sunday dinners. Joanne Watson, you understand nation building is not a part-time job. This dedicated life is sometimes lonely, a vulnerable choice, but it is the only way you know how to operate.
Wake up, Detroit. This is the national edition of your wake-up call. Wake up, Detroit. Wake up, Georgia. We're coming live and in person in order to help get out the vote. And I know you thought the election was over. There's another election on the way, and all roads lead to Georgia. To help us focus on that, we have our good friend, our leader of the Council for the Black Congress on Health Law and Economics, a native Detroiter, Attorney Derek A. Humphreys. Yay!
Well, thank you so very much, Reverend Dr. Joanne Watson. It is an honor to be on your show. 20 years running, this show has been going, and we're just so happy to be a member and part of it. So from Washington, D.C., we say thank you again, and we have a stellar list of guests today and experts. We're going to speak about the significance of what's going on in Georgia and what's going on in Georgia. So I'd like to just get out of the way so that we can hear everything that our guests today have to share with us about what's going on in Georgia and how it impacts what goes on in the entire United States, okay? And so we have with us today Ms. Helen Butler. Helen Butler is the Executive Director of the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda. Long time of warrior in the vineyards. Okay, long time. And she brings to this show just a history of activism over decades of getting people out to vote. She knows the people. She knows what's going on. And as you see behind her, the People's Agenda. And that's so important. And also on this show, we have Attorney Quentin Robinson. Now, Quentin Robinson is just busy all over the country. Now, I see him every now and then as he goes in and out of his office. We know that a lawyer is busy when he says, I'm on my way to court. That means that he's bringing the issue to the people. And Quentin, indeed, is a litigator. He is the agriculture policy advisor and lawyer for the Rural Coalition from Georgia himself. And so, as we move forward, we're going to hear from Quentin about all that the Rural Coalition is doing in Georgia and why it ties in to what we are looking for on January 5th from the special election. And we also have with us, joining us, Dr. Hazel Harper. Now, Dr. Harper is in Washington, D.C. I'm going to just give you a little bit of background. I've known Dr. Harper for many years. She is a member of the National Dental Association, dentists across the country, a past president and the first female president of the National Dental Association. Now, when you hear advocacy on behalf of young people, particularly having access to affordable dental care, it is think in the same sentence, Dr. Hazel Harper. So we welcome her today. And we have, and before I go to the history maker, I want to recognize Dorothy Jackson.
Yeah.
And Dorothy Jackson is the executive director of the Black Congress on Health, Law, and Economics. And that just says a whole lot about who she is.
That's right.
I mean, she is instrumental in reaching out across this country for the experts to be on our show. Now, the history maker, who we all can affect to as we move forward,
Woo!
the Honorable Bill Lucey.
My.
History maker. Hey,
My.
Black trade unionist. Hey,
Come on now.
Okay, ask me. When you think of civil rights, you think of Bill Lucey. He was in Memphis. Right. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, he has been in Atlanta. He's been in the rural areas that are below Macon. People think of Macon, Georgia, as being rural. No. It's just the doorway to what is rural in Georgia. And Bill Lucey has been to all of them. So we're just so pleased and honored that Bill Lucey is with us today. So there we are, all roads converge and Wake Up Detroit and the national edition. And we're so grateful for this opportunity to be with you, the Honorable Dr. Reverend Joanne Watkins.
Thank you very much, Attorney Derek Humphreys. We're so grateful to you and Black Congress on Health, Law, and Economics and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority and others who have sponsored this national edition of Wake Up Detroit so that we could engage our people, empower our people to get the vote out where it is needed, and it is most desperately needed in Georgia. I want to ask our sister, Attorney Dorothy Jackson, if she would like to offer any special remarks before we invite the historian, the man, the great Bill Lucey, to open us up with commentary about Georgia.
I don't want to take up time making a remark at this time. I just want everybody to know how very important it is to get everybody out to vote and help them understand why it's important to win those 2 Senate seats in the runoff on January 5th. So I defer to the Honorable Bill Lucey.
All right. The great Bill Lucey.
Let me, Derek, let me just do what needs to be done and do it right. I would not presume to comment on what I know about Georgia with Helen Butler on the line.
Come on now.
All right.
I'd just like to make 1 or 2 points about the election overall and the importance of Georgia. We stand on the verge of changing the course of history. I mean, two seats in Georgia, we can do that. If they had 3 seats in Georgia, we'd do that. And it'll be done because people have all of a sudden figured out that we understand how this thing works now. We were supposed to lose everything going away, and yet, we brought home President-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That wasn't supposed to happen. It happened because we have grown to understand not only the power and strength of the black vote, but we've grown to understand how to build coalitions in order to win. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the folks out of Detroit. I want to mention by word Reverend Wendell Anthony, Frank Woods from the UAW,
Come on
David
now.
Claxton, because what happened the other night, they tried to do an end run and made a
Yeah.
mistake and tried to run up the middle. And what folks in
Hey.
Detroit said, no, you ain't going to count votes and leave us out. And
You got that right.
in less than an hour, that deal had changed because some of the folks just delivered an attitude adjustment to
Hey.
folks who were just going to count us out of the game. But this
That's right.
is, and we've said it before, we always said this is the most important election. This is it. And
That's
it'll
right.
be the Helen Butlers and the people's agenda. And let me just say that Joe Lowry, who spent his adult life fighting for the rights of people, Helen
That's
is running
right.
an organization that is the continuation of that work. And whether
My
it's
Lord.
Atlanta or wherever, Helen and the other people who are part of this broad coalition will bring this issue home. And when they finalize the count, you will find the Democratic Party, led by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, in line to create a new direction for this country.
Woo! Outstanding. And Bill Lucy, you put your finger on it. And we're going to ask the wonderful leader, activist, organizer, a protege of Reverend Dr. Joseph Lowry, Helen Butler, to come on in and give us the news we can use about Georgia.
Well, good morning, Detroit, and thank you so much. And it is always an honor to be with the legendary Mr. Bill Lucy. I tell you that what has happened in Georgia has been because of people coming together. It didn't happen overnight. We've been working with Dr. Lowry for some 20 years to make this happen. We've been organizing, we've been registering people, educating them about who's on the ballot, how to exercise their right to vote, and to make sure that they turn out to vote. So we are honored to be here. We have over 7 million people that are registered to vote in Georgia. And of course, we had a turnout of over 5 million people. And of that, 33% were African Americans. And then we have our Latinx and our Asian Americans that formed this coalition to really make it happen. We had some people on the ground throughout the state, not just in Metro Atlanta, but we were in Albany, we were in Athens, we were in LaGrange, Georgia, we were down in Clay, Georgia, we were in Savannah, we were in Macon, Augusta. We were over the state, making sure that people were able to exercise their right to vote. We had 1,300 volunteers who worked with us on our election protection activities. Those were people that made sure they were at the polling locations to ensure people were not turned away. They could exercise their right to vote. We worked with the Lawyers Committee, the Legal Defense Fund, the ACLU. All voting is local with the Leadership Conference. You name it, we had them all there working in coalition to ensure New Georgia Project was registering people, getting them out to the poll. Georgia Stand Up, Clayton County Black Women's Roundtable.
Come on now.
I mean, we were doing it. Common Cause with Anna Dennis. All of us. It was intergenerational. It was people working together that made it happen. And we understood the importance and what's going to happen. We've got to do it again coming up January the 5th. And we have the people there to make it happen. So we're ready, and we're ready to get it done.
All right. Well, she said it well, didn't she? Let's do it again. Attorney Quentin N. Robinson. Give us
Good morning.
Your perspective. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me with you, and to the Honorable Bill Lacy, and to Reverend Watson, and Miss Jackson, and Miss Butler. It's so wonderful to be with all of you this morning. I am a Georgia resident. I work every day with the African American farmers, actually all over the country, but this is so important not just to Detroit, where all of our cousins live and where we grow food in the rural areas and we ship it, even though Detroit is doing a wonderful job of growing food in the city. But we're glad to work together on a host of programs at United States Department of Agriculture. But this election is important for farmers in rural communities, and we connect with the cities. And let me tell you why. In the past Farm Bill, we were successful in getting historic legislation to protect that traditional historical farmland that's owned by African-American farmers. It's called the Heirs Property Act. That act is in law, is authorized, but we need the funding to get the boots on the ground, to get the information out so that we will have a working infrastructure and an apparatus to help protect African-American farmland. And as I was telling my good brother, Attorney Humphreys, we were able just a few weeks ago to win a major heir property victory right here in the state of Georgia, just by working together in a coalition to fight against the banks who want to take our historical farmland. And so the reason we need these 2 seats in the state of Georgia is because when President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris step on the scene on the first day, they're going to be, the stimulus package will be moving. And what we're trying to do and what we need to be successful in doing is adding enhanced language into the stimulus bill that would provide debt relief to our farmers, that would provide this infrastructure funding to protect the heirs property land that's owned by the Black farmers, because it's so critically important.
All right. We're so
the
grateful.
Historical Black farmland from one generation to the next. And so that's what we're working on.
Excellent.
And I know that there are many families who live in Detroit who own land back in the South. And what is protect every single acre. It'll take the 2 senators from Georgia to help move this legislation across the finish line. And so I'm here. We've been given about 10 small rural cities in Georgia, and we've been given the directive to go pick up 10,000 votes in each of these cities. So every small amount of votes really counts. In this type of race. We have our work cut out for us, and we thank you for your prayers, because we're going to need it, knocking on the doors, getting us back to the polls again, plus an extra 400,000 votes.
Love that. I see that we've been joined by the great Barbara Arnwine, Esquire, the founder president of Transformative Justice Coalition and former executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. Barbara Arnwine in the house. Tell us why are you in Atlanta, Georgia, my sister?
Because we are engaging in massive grassroots organizing throughout Georgia. We're working with the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda with the mighty Helen Butler. And we are mobilizing hundreds of thousands of people throughout the country to write postcards, to do phone banking, to assist in fundraising, supporting the groups in Georgia. And we are taking our direction from those groups, and we're doing this work. So we're saying that if you're sitting in anywhere, Massachusetts, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, San Francisco, California, wherever you're sitting, Houston, Texas, we all are Georgians right now. Because for every one of us, the most important thing is making sure that Blacks and Browns and Native Americans and young people, oh my goodness, did you see what the young vote did in Georgia? They drove this. You know, one of the facts that nobody knows, and we got to make sure this is well known, is that African American youth, that Gen Z generation, 18 to 29, they showed up at the polls this last election at 73%.
Hey.
In some places, their turnout rate was 89%. Do you hear me? Our young Black people showed up and showed out. And the same is true of Latinos. Everybody don't even know that in Arizona, 97% of all Navajos voted for one Joseph Biden. I'm just saying what they did. So this race, we're all Georgians, people. We all are saying to our family members, our friends, our colleagues, that one, absentee voting has started. They sent out the ballots yesterday. And if you have not applied for a ballot, if you have not applied for an absentee ballot, you must. You must. Don't get confused. You have to apply. You can go to My Voter Page, in Georgia and get that information for how to get your absentee ballot. You can call 866 Our Vote, 866-687-8683, and somebody will help you and give you information on how to get that ballot. We need you to do that because January 5th will be here before you can turn your head. And the postal service is not what it used to be. And it's moving slow. So we need you to request that ballot. Once you get that ballot, correctly fill it out, take your time, do it the correct way, and then turn it into the drop box. Don't put it in the mail, please, please. Turn it into your county drop boxes. There's plenty in Georgia. And there's only plenty because we advocated for it, by the way. Those drop boxes exist because groups advocated for those boxes to be there. So there's plenty. Then if you say, okay, you got your voting plan and you said, nah, I don't like that absentee balloting stuff. I want to vote in person. 70+% of all Georgians voted in person. That's something people don't know. Only 23% used absentee ballots last election. So that means the majority of you are going to the polls. So what you got to have is a plan. What day are you going to vote? Because early voting in Georgia starts December the 14th.
Wow.
And it goes for weeks. But we know how people are. Once it gets close to Christmas and Christmas gets here and we're all obsessed with what I got and didn't get and all the rest of that I've seen and didn't see, you forget about voting. So you want to have a plan that on December the 14th, you are at that voting site, that entire week that you're voting, right? And what we also want to tell people is that our group, you see, I got my John Lewis Good Trouble button on because we are going to have John Lewis Good Trouble marches and votercades. Votercades are like a motorcade. For those who don't want to get out, you can get into your car, make some noise, and we're going to have a massive votercade throughout every major city in Georgia: Columbus, Athens, Augusta, Albany, Savannah, Atlanta. Look for us. We're coming with our big John Lewis Good Trouble marches and votercades, and we come and we don't just show out in the street and do noise and bands and African drummers and all that do and DJs at the polls. We go directly to the polling site, and so that you can go to the polling site and get your vote on. Drop those absentee ballots off at those drop boxes, and that you also are able to vote in person. So we are going to do it, Georgia. Get ready, Georgia. It's the time, Georgia. January 5th is the formal election day, but we know a whole lot of y'all will still be talking about January 1st and what you did on New Year's. No, January 5th is your final day for elections. We want many Georgians voting that heads are swirling. We want the whole world wants you because Georgia, you are important to us. Like you said earlier, like my brother said about the Black land preservation and Black heirs property, etc. Georgia, you are carrying it all. Medicare for all. You're carrying it all. Medicaid for all.
And
You're
all,
everything.
all of us.
Stimulus, all the things. Folks, you are Georgia, you're everything because this Senate race is everything. So thank you so much, Joanne, for having me because, I'm going to be here. I'm in Atlanta now. I'm going to spend most of my time in Georgia until this is over because we believe in finishing the job. We got to finish the job, people. Finish the job.
That line. Finish the job.
Come on, Georgia. Come on, Georgia. Come on.
Barbara Arnwine, Esquire. Barbara Arnwine in the house. Woo! On fire this morning. We want to move to our sister, Dr. Hazel Harper Johns, who I know has a good word from the healthcare arena on how we can empower the vote in Georgia. Dr. Johns.
Well, first of all, I want to say if anybody didn't have their coffee or caffeine this morning, they didn't need it when you come on to your show or listen to your speakers, because now I am so fired up. I got patients today. I don't know how they're going to be able to stand me. So, thank you for that. But I just want to report that because of our great relationships with our good friends, Derek Humphrey and Dorothy Jackson, I have really, really been able to make sure that I've got the right connections. We are all working for and have been working for voter registration, and now more than ever. So I'm affiliated with 3 nonprofit organizations. It means that all I can do is say that we are working on behalf of voter registration. We have involved, I'm here in Washington, D.C., sitting in my office. We have involved all of the dentists, all of the dental students at Howard University. We have been on the phone. We know where the Georgia legislators are, letting them know that we're at the National Dental Association office and writing out postcards. And organizations I'm involved with are the Links, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, and the National Dental Association. And I've got to tell you, between those 3 organizations, we have been pushing and working as well as with the Howard University students. So I'm delivering my postcards today that I just got, and we had our local chapter dental association meeting last night in Washington, D.C., and my colleagues have volunteered to help me get these hundreds of postcards out in the mail to folks in Gwinnett County, because we hear you. We, as healthcare professionals, we know we have to get the right people in Congress, because we need to make sure our businesses are secure in our communities. We need to make sure our patients are taken care of. They need to know that their doctors are doing everything that we can to stay in business in our communities. We know where we're needed. We know what our patients need. We know that they can trust us to tell them the truth about what's getting ready to happen with the vaccines and the vaccinations. We're clear on what our role is, but we're also clear that we cannot be marginalized when it comes to PPE and getting the kind of equipment and protection that we need for our doctors, for our staff, and keeping our practices open for our patients. A lot of times people forget that the mouth is connected to the rest of the body. But I can't let people forget, because people that have diabetes and have gum disease, the diabetes is out of control. For people that have heart issues or heart disease, the bacteria in the mouth can create severe problems. For pregnant women that already have a burden on them, bacteria in the mouth can transmit to their unborn baby. There's a lot of things that are taking place in the mouth. Toothaches don't stop. Gum disease doesn't stop. Abscesses don't stop. So we have to be here for our patients. We take a lot of different kinds of insurances. Over 65% of our members in the National Dental Association accept Medicaid, compared to 20% of the general dental population. So we're very clear what our commitment must be. It's not only about practicing in areas, in the urban areas, where the high income areas. We want to be in the communities communities that need us the most. So we understand how important this election is. We understand that we have to support our African American legislators, also hold them accountable, but let them know what our needs are, because we're speaking on behalf of some members in our community that can't always speak for themselves. So I'm proud to be here. Thank you for letting me be on your show this morning, letting you know that your dental community is with you. We have chapters all over the country. We've already communicated with them. They've been asking. We got the direct information from Mr. Humphreys and from Dorothy Jackson about who they need to partner with in Georgia. They're on it. We're doing it. We hope that we'll be able to continue this support, as we know how important getting the vote out in Georgia is. So thank you to all of you for having the show. It's a blessing, and thank you for inviting me to be with you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to ask Attorney Derek Humphreys to put some things in perspective as we move forward.
Well, let me just, as a tail end to Dr. Harper Johns, let me just give some perspective. Dr. Harper Johns' sister-in-law was Barbara Johns.
Oh,
Barbara Johns was the young lady who in 1952 said enough is enough, and in Farmville, Virginia, led a walkout of the students from the all-colored school.
Yeah.
That resulted ultimately in the 1954 desegregation case, Brown versus Topeka, Kansas. Barbara Johns was the primary person who started that, and you see the connection here and the advocacy in Dr. Harper Johns as she speaks about what she and her family are doing and what she has called on all African American dentists throughout the country to do, and that is to focus on Georgia, on Georgia. There are at least one former president of the National Dental Association who lives in Atlanta, who has pledged her commitment. But just to share with you the perspective, yes, Dr. Watson, this is historic, what we have on this screen today. And we thank you very much. So as we move forward, the question is, okay, so we have Georgia. Now, what's the importance of the January 5th election to those who live in Detroit, those who live in New York, those who live in Dallas, those who live in Los Angeles? What is, if we could have a perspective on why what's taking place in Georgia is a wake-up call for everybody across the country. It's not just Georgia, it's what Georgia stands for. So Helen Butler, maybe, and Bill Lucy?
Well,
Helen, after you.
I'll defer to you, Mr. Lucy, first, and then I'll go after you.
Well, Derek and Joanne, let me just say, you know, we started this effort to change the country through this election from behind the eight ball. But we put together a policy program that really meets the needs of all people in the community, but particularly the African-American community and those who are low wage and low wealth. I mean, when we talk about, let's say, a minimum wage of $15 an hour, that ain't gonna make you rich, but it's gonna make you better off than what you are. And we talk about the issues of health care as a matter of right, as a matter of privilege. The health cost to the, I shouldn't be pretending to be an expert, but the cost of health care, decent health care for African Americans, is an astounding number when it relates to your ability to pay. We talk about housing. Right now, under the program that's been put forth by this administration, we're facing an eviction crisis like nobody wants to talk about. The Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference under Ivor Carruthers has talked about the fact that people are just going to be set outdoors. if they don't be able to have a job and work that pays a meaningful wage. We talk about young people, the ability to really relieve people of the debt burden coming out of college. Those are critical issues to the African American community, and we've got to make that the principal part of our debate. We got to have so many black folks at the polls that look like midnight. We got to say to folks, this is it. Georgia is the key to our total victory. Electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is important, but we can see that McConnell, as the head of the Senate, will not allow any action to move that benefits ordinary people, regular people,
now.
black or white. And what we've got to do is become the spearhead for bringing this country back to a sense of reasonableness. We got people, 12 million people who are filed for unemployment benefits almost every month. Trump, talks about his right to have a full account. We're gonna give him an account that he can understand. That is, it's a new day. And I just want to say on behalf of the labor crowd, organized labor in general is fully into this election. Black labor in particular is preparing to help the effort in Georgia. We're coming down. We don't know every play. We're asking the people who've been there already. I mean, the people who are in Georgia got us this far. What we got to do is just help them and follow their directions and go the rest of the way. This is the job. This is the job. Right. I don't care. Ain't nobody in this country who ain't got a relative in Georgia. So, I mean, we just got to make that plain. And we done got all scientifically oriented. We got text messages. I mean, when we were fighting the fight, this is what John Lewis was talking about. This is what Fannie Lou Hamer was talking about. This is what the 1972 march and meeting in Gary, Indiana was about. It was about the effort to mobilize our community so we can take advantage of the black vote. Just one more point and I get off here. The black vote in South Carolina brought down, as I say, did the Lazarus trick with Joe Biden. And the black vote is the reason Kamala Harris is on the ticket. Kamala Harris will provide the access to the power in our community, and that is the black women's vote. This thing is about where we have been and where we're going.
Excellent. Woo! Yeah. I love that. Lazarus, resurrection. I mean, Joe Biden. As a result of, I love it.
Well, I tell you, how can you follow Mr. Lucy? I tell you, but public policy, I think COVID has proven to every person, no matter where you are in this country, that public policy impacts you tremendously. And you've got to have the elected officials who are going to do the right thing about it. We saw the young people in Georgia out in the streets protesting, but they understood because of COVID and because that they were looking for criminal justice reform. When Dr. King's speech said, give us the ballot, he said, while we are out, protest is necessary, but you can't have it without being at the ballot box. So they understood that they had to take that protest to the ballot box. That's why Georgia had a 70% turnout rate. That's why you had all of these people working in coalition. As Mr. Lucy said, we've been doing it all. Phone banking, texting, giving rides to the polls. We have a ride to the poll website. We have a ride to the poll app. If people needed a ride to drop off their absentee ballot at the drop boxes, we do that.
Go ahead.
Canvassing, door to door, touching people safely, though, because we understand COVID has a large impact on our community. But we are going to be in the streets again because I think that people really understand that public policy And public policy means anything, whether it's minimum wage, health care, whether it's a reactor, whether we get utility for rent, or whether we get even our small businesses. What kind of relief programs do you have that you can get? We have a door knocker that says on one side, we have the pictures of all the candidates, because while we have two U.S. senators, we also have a public service commissioner statewide that regulates utilities, broadband, and all that other stuff that impacts our community. So on the other side, it said, get rid of the gridlock. And that's what Mr. Lucy was talking about. The Senate is in gridlock. The House actually passed things that would improve our lives, but the Senate is holding it up. So that's why Georgia is critical. No matter where you are in this country, we got to make sure we elect the right people that are going to pass the laws that make it better for our communities. They represent us. We talk about the census, the connectivity between it all, because also critical to January will be redistricting when they draw those lines.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
It is critical for everybody that we get the right people in place, that we can get people that are going to represent our interests and make sure they do what we want them to do, not what they want to do, but what's best for our communities. And that's why everybody in this country has to come help Georgia. Either just give resources. We don't want you to be unsafe. Send your resources. Call us to do phone banking. We can set up the phone banking. We can set up the text. We can help you with the message for the postcards. Whatever it is, we can help you and you can help us. So let's just do this again. We've got to have it done.
All right. Well, on fire this morning, on fire. And Gregory Humphreys is in Detroit, but he can be a part of that momentum, helping to elevate Georgia on this period as well. Welcome, Gregory Humphreys.
Oh, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. First, I would like to say thank you for the series that we had. Dr. Watson, I want to thank you for allowing me to come on to give my perspective on how it's going in this part of the country and the Midwest. I like to say, that we can have an impact on the Georgia race because, like you said, there are relatives up here. I've talked to people who have relatives down in Georgia. I told them, you need to call those people. Call those young folks. Call them. It's not only Georgia, like they said, is impacted, but the world is impacted. And the president's position is nothing unless we have the other forms of government in our favor. We have to vote on that. And then it becomes very apparent now that the other forms of government are very important. People will say, well, we're just going to vote for the president. The president has his hands tied because the legislation doesn't come through the president. It comes through the other forms of legislation. So here in Detroit, as you all know, in Wayne County, they trying to rescind the certification. I know if you talked about that this morning, but they're trying to rescind it. They voted not to certify it, then they turned around and certified it, and now they're trying to rescind it because they're trying to take our vote away from us again, and they're doing it through the legislation. They're bypassing the people's votes. And people have to understand that you not only vote for the president, but you have to vote the ballot down. It's those people in those other positions that make up the policies and makes up those type of different things that will benefit people of color.
That's right.
And that's what we're trying to express here for Georgia. We get those 2 seats, then we can party. We can't party until we get those 2 seats.
You gotta say it, Gregory.
All right.
My. Thank you, Greg Humphreys. Attorney Derek Humphreys.
So, Reverend Watson, just to make, as Gregory Humphreys has said, we have family in Georgia.
That's right.
Now, Attorney Robinson deals specifically in a lot of ways with the rural area. Attorney Robinson, how can we help connect the rural with the urban? Okay, you see where I'm going? The rural with the urban. And maybe if you speak to that, Barbara and Helen might have something to add to it. But how do you represent those who live in rural areas, and they have special challenges getting to the polls. They have special problems getting babysitters so they can go work in the plants. How can we help?
It's very simple. We have a farm bill every 5 years, and that's where we rewrite the entire law that governs how farmers grow, market, handle the land, et cetera, et cetera. What's also a part of the Farm Bill is the Food and Nutrition Program, which we formerly called the Food Stamp Program. Whether you're in rural America, whether you're in urban Detroit, urban Chicago, it doesn't matter. You know someone who may use the Food and Assistance Program. Food and Assistance Program comes out of Farm Bill appropriations. And what this current administration has done is made it more difficult for working families, minorities of all sorts, to maintain their eligibility for the Food and Assistance Program. And so the reason we need these 2 seats in the Senate is to quickly, and I mean quickly, overturn the cutbacks on the food and nutrition programs that were made by this current administration. And so once again, you may say farming and the Farm Bill is just rural America. No, it is not. It includes billions and billions of dollars every single year for food and assistance that will help the low-income families make it from month to month to make sure that they have an adequate and a safe food throughout the entire month. So once again, these 2 Senate seats are so important because actually it'll put food back on the table for our working class and low income citizens.
And I wanted to add, one of the worst tragedies that's never talked about in our country is that in rural areas, there's been an epidemic of hospital closures. And when we're talking now about COVID and the COVID crisis and the ICU beds, if you look back over the last 5 years, you will see a crisis of hospital closures in rural communities. Nobody's talked about it. That is one of the real tragedies that we got to repair or in the years to come, because that's why people are dying and suffering and hospitals are overcrowded. That's why it's taking them so long to transport people to a hospital that can treat them, all of those issues. So it's so important that we really bring to the rural communities knowledge. One of the things that I hear, and I haven't seen the notes, and certainly Helen can talk about it, is that some of the lowest turnout in Georgia were from some of the rural communities. That's because of the transportation issues. That's because of the need to help. Now, we have created at the Voter Justice Network, at the Voting Rights Alliance, at Transformative Justice, we've created what we call a Clergy to the Polls program. We're calling on churches throughout Georgia, throughout the country, to do their job. We're asking churches to adopt churches in Georgia, become sister and brother churches, and to help each other. Because in Georgia, one of the beauties is that for that vote absentee application, the churches and other groups can fax those to homes. They can email them. They can help because people can just download, print it out if they are able to. But churches and groups can do that also and give them to people so people can apply for those absentee ballots. So there's a lot that churches can do. But also we want clergy at the polls to make sure that people are confident, taken care of, etc. And young people to be fresh legs so they can say, go ahead and sit down. I'll stand in line for you if it's going to be 2 and 3 hours. We need so much done. And that's why I'm so proud to work directly with Helen Butler. You can join us because we meet every night. Every night at 6:00 p.m. Eastern. And you can join us at votingrightsalliance.org. votingrightsalliance.org, and you can do those postcards, you can do those phone banks, you can do that texting, you can help to really make a difference for Georgia and for all of us. I am grateful. Thank you.
Well,
Joanne, Bill, listen, can I just make one point to follow up to that? It is so critically important that our broad coalition is really built into that is our church and religious participation. Yes. I mean, across the South, and bear in mind, we were on a call the other night where the giving of the check that Trump put his name on really had an impact on an awful lot of people, and we just can't disregard that. But we got to convince our brothers and our political and religious leaders that come election day now, and it's so important that they talk to their congregations and make them understand the importance. Because on elections day, they ain't going to be counting prayers. They're going to be counting votes. It's so important that they get their congregation totally committed to coming into the polls and doing whatever they can do to register their vote. And I want to give, if I can, a shout out to 2 organizations that have really absolutely committed to this. The Coalition of Black Trade Unionists and the A. Philip Randolph Institute is spending the remainder of their time to make sure not only that their membership, but those who can participate come down and help folks in Georgia under their direction do what has to be done. This is it. Prayers are good, and I'm all for it. But that ain't what they're counting on election day. They're counting votes.
My.
I think what we
and we want that CBTU. We want them to help us with those John Lewis marches. We can do this.
All right now.
I think what we also have to understand that our churches are adversely impacted as well. A lot of them are not even having services, so they can't even touch their communities in rural Georgia because they don't have access to broadband. So like the churches in metropolitan Atlanta that can carry on the messaging through Zoom, through whatever, but in rural Georgia, they don't have broadband, so they can't, they're not meeting in person, so they don't have that opportunity like the churches in Georgia. But we have a lot, I want everybody to understand that we made it happen with a large coalition. It included faith leaders, it included labor, it included environmentalists, it included teachers, it included first responders, it included Fair Fight, it included so many named organizations and unnamed. Miss Sherrod, Shirley Sherrod, who does a lot of work down in the Black Belt of Georgia. There are people that are on the ground doing it. So what they need is help, resources. If you can't come, which we're saying, we don't want to put people in harm's way, send resources to an organization.
Right.
Like you said, relational organizing, that you can call your relatives, call your friend, somebody that you know there, some teacher that you met at a conference. But we've got to all be together in this. But I do want us to know that rural Georgia is just as critical as metropolitan Atlanta. While metropolitan may have a large swath of the voting population, but so does rural Georgia for Black people and people of color, the African diaspora, Latinx, the Caribbean.
Amen.
So we need to make sure that we're touching all of them, but be mindful that the rural has different challenges than the metro areas. A lot of polling location changes were trying to be done. We had to fight that. Precinct consolidations, we had to fight that legally to make it stay open, to even get a drop box. They only have one drop box in some of those counties. That's not enough.
Right.
We even work with philanthropy organizations to give election officials resources to buy them because the county governments couldn't afford them.
Wow.
So we've got to look at other ways. How can you contribute so you can get to the polling place and vote? We provided rides. We made sure people got a way to the polls or to the drop box. So there are things that if you help those organizations that are in those communities, I have 7 offices across the state, but those offices are headed by people that live there, that know the community. I don't know it. I live in Atlanta and Madison. I don't know what it is like in Clay, Georgia every day, Clay County, but I do know that Carol Seeley down there does know that. So those are things that we have to plug into, that people that are on the ground can help us navigate this and help us to turn out that vote.
Well said. Well said. As we move toward our closing, I don't know how we can thank you enough, this phenomenal panel, which has underscored this priority and the importance of Georgia for this coming season. We're in it right now.
Yes.
Absentee ballots are going out right now.
Yes.
All roads lead to Georgia right now. So today we're not saying wake up Detroit. We're saying wake up Georgia. Wake up Georgia. All roads lead to Georgia. I'm going to ask my sister, Attorney Dorothy Jackson, to close us out, as well as Attorney Derek A. Humphreys, as I thank all of our very special guests today.
I'd just like to close us out with saying that our mission and our campaign slogan for the 2020 election cycle was moving from protest to power at the polls. And I think if we listen to what everyone has said here today, and that this election cycle is not over. So we're still moving to power at the polls. So just keep Georgia on your mind.
Hey, Georgia on my mind.
Georgia
on my mind. Attorney Derek Humphreys.
You know how to hurt a guy. You just have to follow with Dorothy Jackson. I would say that as we move forward, and Barbara and Helen and Quentin, Bill, you have said it all. And that is the example, clergy at the polls.
Yeah.
It should be dentists at the polls,
Yeah.
physicians at the polls,
Yeah.
firefighters at the polls, nurses at the polls,
Yeah.
everybody at the polls for
That's right.
Georgia. And so that we reach out, that broad coalition, we got everybody at the polls, everybody.
Amen.
And so with that, I make the commitment through the organizations that I represent. Barbara has a much broader base throughout the world, and people can make contributions from wherever they are. And Helen, if you in follow-up will give us that 1-800 line or that online communication so that we can send it out to all of our organizations. We want to say thank you so very much to the Honorable Reverend Joanne Watson for hosting this. We want to say thank you to R.J. Watkins, the president of Watkins Broadcasting, for making this possible. Hey, we'll see you at the polls. January 5th is going to turn this country around. Thank you.
Right.
Wake up, Georgia.
You can reach us at thepeoplesagenda.org. The People's Agenda, just as it says behind my head here, thepeoplesagenda.org. You can donate, you can volunteer, and we will be happy to have you be with us.
Everybody
Amen.
at the polls.
Amen.
Man.
The People's Agenda. That's right.
Reverend Watson.
Georgia on my mind. Wake up, Georgia.
When a brown girl child is born, the earth shifts. The sun is at half-mast. The moon waits for her first cry. The ancestors set the table. The flowers turn red as blood. This is your land, continent daughter, with tree trunk legs and branches for arms. This is your soil, black and fertile as your eyes facing an apartheid Jim Crow current past memory. Some of us begin the removal of shackles at birth. We grow into the armor of struggle quickly. We brew courage and RT, blend bravery into our Sunday dinners. Joanne Watson, you understand nation building is not a part-time job. This dedicated life is sometimes